Welcome to this edition of Morgan You Asked For podcast, March 5th. Blizzard here today. It was worse than I thought. I didn't think here in Southeast Iowa we'd get the snow, and thought it would be warm enough that we'd just get a lot of rain and stuff. But it definitely this morning and this afternoon, it's not nice out. So no school for most of the area, and so March kind of, you could say, came in like a lion. So the old tradition is in like a lion, out like a lamb. So maybe the end of the month will be nice. March Madness, basketball galore, lots to talk about, a little bit of NFL stuff, and welcome Trevor in. Trevor's, where are you at tonight? You're on the road. I can see that.
Corona, California.
Where's that at in California? I don't know.
It's anywhere from like 45 minutes to probably 2 hours east of downtown LA. So That's where I'm at tonight. I'll be up in Bakersfield tomorrow, and then over the weekend I'll be staying in San Bernardino. Sunday night in Yuma, Arizona. Then a couple days in Tucson. Go to Las Cruces, New Mexico, and then I'll be home.
So you got the California, Arizona, New Mexico, back home trip. So. Better to be out there than here today.
Yeah, it's been raining here all day today, pretty steady. So luckily the traffic hasn't been too bad for most of the week. I've been trying to do all my meetings kind of between 9 and 3 during the day. So a buddy of mine that used to live out here told me don't try to schedule anything too early in the morning or anytime after 3 because then you get stuck in traffic. So yeah, the weather is it's definitely better here than what you guys got. I saw a big pile up there in 80, and then our buddy Owens, he's trying to get to Scottsdale. He's had flights delayed and canceled, so I think he's finally there now, or getting there.
Yeah. So that's good. Just a couple things here. One, for those of you who noticed, things have changed a little bit on here. I'm trying to still do everything the same, but we're using a different StreamYard platform, and it's kind of going through Podbean instead of Spotify as much. So for those of you that are kind of figuring that out and liking us, and I know we're getting some comments and everything on Facebook, but it's kind of hard to see those. So if you're on Facebook and listening to us, go over to our YouTube page, which is Morgan Asked For Podcast, and then if you comment on the YouTube, we can see that right here. Trev and I can see it in real time, and then we could discuss comments or anything like that. So a couple things there. Just if you want to, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can comment live. Facebook, we can't do it yet. I just can't figure it out. It's one or the other. It's probably just me. I can't figure it out. But if you get to YouTube and you make a comment, we can see it. So if you want to ask a question or make a comment or something, go over to the YouTube page and follow us here live as we are here tonight. It ended up being right about the time because the Big Ten tournament, which is impressive, was running ahead of schedule, which never happens in basketball. Iowa women just got done, beat Wisconsin for, I believe, the 31st time in a row, which is super impressive. And round numbers, about 14 years, because obviously they played in Big Ten tournaments and stuff like that. But I believe it was the 31st time in a row they beat in Wisconsin basketball. That is an impressive stats. I don't care how good a program you are or how bad a program you are. 31 in a row, unheard of. And not close tonight.
Yeah, it wasn't close. Basically, from the very beginning, I told you last week Iowa's playing their best basketball right now. I feel pretty confident. I mean, their rankings aren't going to show up, but they feel like a top 20 team in the nation right now. I won't go as far to say top 10 yet. They've still got more to prove to get to that. But they're firing on all cylinders. Everybody's scoring. I think the freshmen, before they all came in at the end, I think with like 2 minutes left in the third, I think the freshmen had 11 points even. So freshmen got some good playing time. All the starters are contributing. I think I looked earlier today, and I know they showed it on the broadcast. They're projected a 6 seed. One I looked at today had Iowa to 7, but two teams that they had ahead of them was Michigan State and Michigan at a 6. Well, they play Michigan State tomorrow night. So obviously if they can take care of Michigan State, that should probably secure a 6 seed at worst for Iowa. And then, of course, if they can win that game, I don't know how high they can climb. But they're out of that 8, 9, 10 range now, it feels like.
Yeah, a 10 isn't bad, but that 8, 9 is just a really bad spot because then that second round you got to play a 1. The 10's okay, 11, or you want to get to that 6, 7 because then you're playing a 3 or a 2, and it's just better. You don't want to play UConn. You don't want to play South Carolina. I know you played USC and UCLA really well, but I don't think you want to see them real quickly in the tournament.
No, that's how I kind of feel too. So if they can take care of business tomorrow night, if they win that game, then they'd be on to Ohio State. I believe it would be the following day or the following night's game. So
right.
they're playing really well. Everybody contributed to tonight. I mean, there's not much to say. It was a butt whooping. Wasn't much of a contest. So Iowa's definitely, they're not ranked right now, obviously in the nation, but again, like I said, they feel like a top 20 team right now.
And Jay Jensen did a great job. Chad Lysakow from the Des Moines Register sent out a thing and showed the minutes, and no one played more than 24 minutes tonight, which going forward, especially in the Big Ten tournament where you got to win 2, 3, 4 games in a row to win it, and Iowa can benefit. Now, we've seen where it's not, especially the men's tournament. I think the conference tournaments don't matter a lot. But Iowa wants to win a few together, and in games like this where it wasn't close, great getting no one more than about 24, 25 minutes. That's a great job by the coach, especially in her first year. So her first time doing this.
Yeah, everybody got in the game. You could see their beginning of the fourth quarter where all the freshmen were in. They were playing a lot faster, which was good, but they were a little bit sloppy on offense. There was a lot of effort, though, on defense. They were deflecting some passes and doing some really good things, but you could tell the normal starters and the normal 2 or 3 off the bench versus the 5 freshmen. They were playing a little bit quick, but that's to be expected. It's the Big Ten tournament, their first time playing in it, but it was good experience for them. So yeah, Iowa's going to be a real tough out the rest of the way, but they got to, like I said, take care of business versus Michigan State tomorrow night, and then that should hopefully lock up at least a 6 seed for them. And then after that, I don't know what kind of seed they could get depending how far they go.
Yeah, you just got to expect they're not going to change a lot. It's just like, and we're going to discuss this next, but the Cyclone men lost last night. A lot of people had them as a 2, some 3, some 4. Even if you would lose at Kansas State on Saturday and then you lose again that first round of the tournament, in 1 week or a week and a half, you're not going to drop 2 or 3 seeds because the committee has shown, and it is an entire season body of work. It's not just the last couple games that matter. Good and bad in those situations. Yeah.
So for Iowa State, moving on to them now, you don't think there's probably any chance that they could drop maybe down to a 5 seed?
I don't think a 5. I think a 4. If they would lose Saturday and then lose that first game, because now they're probably going to play on Wednesday night in the 5-12 matchup, or wouldn't necessarily be the 12 or whoever the 12 plays. I don't even know who it would be, and I don't think it's set yet. If they would lose their next 2 games, so finish, there's a chance to go to a 4. I don't think they could get to a 5. But it's super important. Again, we just talked about it with the Iowa women. They need to stay on that 3 line. I don't think they can get to a 2 now, just with they've got 7 losses or 8 losses now. But they need to, because that way you just stay away from that 1 seed. The 2 seeds right now are a St. John's, a Michigan State, an Alabama. You can play with those. And honestly, if you end up being a 4 or 5, can you play and beat a number 1 seed if you're playing at the best? Absolutely. Iowa State can beat anybody in the country. They've showed it. They've not proven it, but they've showed that they can play and hang with anybody in the country. But you just want to go away. You don't want to play Auburn, or I don't think you want to play Duke until an Elite 8. I mean, that's just, you want to stay away from them as long as you can.
So what happened it was last night, double overtime loss.
Yeah.
I tuned in right as it was ending, so I didn't get to see what happened in that game.
Well, so I was following along. My daughter had a concert, so I was following along on my phone. I wasn't watching it necessarily. Um, they started out pretty well. Uh, there's two main stats. I mean, essentially, they got down 21 points with about 14 minutes left, and they made one heck of a run, tied it up, had a couple chances, overtimes. They had chances, and just they played really good defense, and they played really bad defense, and they played really good on offense, and then they played really bad on offense. They're right now their biggest issue, I believe, is most teams have one guy, end of the clock, get it to him, have him make a play, and then you go. You live and die with that. Well, I think Iowa State is so balanced. So they played 50 minutes of basketball last night, and they're a number 10 team in the country, and not one person scored 20 points. Now, we had an 18, we had a 19, we had a 14, we had a 16, we had a 13, which is really good, but I just felt a little bit that when it got down to it, it wasn't get the ball to this guy and make a play. They didn't know who to get the ball to. I think you got to get the ball to Keyshawn Gilbert, and he's got to drive, and he's got to finish or kick. Or you got to get the ball to Joshua Jefferson, which they tried to do, but he fumbled the ball, and then he didn't even get a shot. And at the end of regulation or the first overtime, kind of all runs together. I forget which one it was. You got to get it to those two guys, and then because I believe your best scorer or your best offensive player right now is Milan Momcilovic, but he is a catch and shoot guy. He's not a get the ball, drive to the lane, and finish. He's not there yet. So I think that's the problem. And then defensively, they just get lazy. I think they rely on their offense maybe a little bit too much. And BYU is really good. Chris Williams, a Cyclone fanatic, Chris Hassel, Andy Fales, Keith Murphy on Iowa Everywhere that I listen to. There's ways, and then Trent Condon on KXNO radio. There's this. It's kind of like Ken Palm, but it's a different one where you can adjust dates. And if you go from February 1st to today, BYU is the third-ranked team in the country. They've won 7 or 8 in a row. They've killed Arizona. They've killed Kansas. They beat Iowa State in double overtime, and they were up 21 points. So Iowa State made one hell of a run to come back, but they shouldn't have been down by that much. And that's at home. That's the concerning thing. And can they turn the switch on and play and win 4, 5, 6 games in a row? Absolutely they can. But and then I made a note here. They are 7-7 in their last 14 games. That's not great. Now, they were 15-1 or whatever it was before that. With their only loss as a tip in at the buzzer against the number 1 team in the country, Auburn. So I'm concerned. The Big 12 tournament is, I don't know what to think of that because we've seen Iowa State win the Big 12 tournament, get beat in the first round. We've seen them win the Big 12 tournament and go to the Sweet 16. I do. And this team seems to be tired to me. Now, I think one thing that we've had a couple guys hurt, but I do think sickness is running through the team right now. Curtis Jones had walking pneumonia. Deshaun Jackson didn't start last night because he was sick and missed a couple days of practice. So I don't know if this team needs a little rest. So go down there, win one game, and then lose. I don't know if that's better or go try to win the whole thing. I don't know. I don't know the answer to it, but as we've talked about for several weeks now, this team needs to get the Sweet 16. Anything less than that is a disappointment. And Sweet 16 is just an okay season, I think. It's nothing great. Elite 8 is where this team should get to. but right now they're not playing real well. I shouldn't say that. They're playing well, but they're not consistent. They need to just find that consistency. And one thing I think I am going to do, I'm going to put on our socials and everything, is a poll out there and ask, what should Iowa State do in the Big 12 tournament? Do you want to see them win the whole thing, or do you want to see them lose for success in the tournament? I don't know how I'm going to word that for sure, but I think that's what I'm going to do. And also, and we're going to talk about this later. Thanks, putting that top 10 album list. Did you see that I put out that? What did you think of that graphic and stuff?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Did Paige do that for you, or is that something you?
I did that one.
So. Okay. Well, I wasn't sure if you could figure that out, because I don't think I'd be able to. So yeah, thanks for doing that. I was kind of curious if you did that or if you had Paige do it, because
I did that one.
Okay.
I'm a little bit. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better at it. The colors were a little weird, but it was what it.
That's okay. It's good practice.
Couldn't all figure it out. Yep. But it worked. And I know we got some, Bandstra, sent a thing and everything, so that was good. I'm working on Canva. I'm not good at it yet. I'm working on it. But I think some of it is I'm cheap and I don't pay for it. So I think if you pay for it, you get a lot more options and can do more things. So maybe I should just buck up and pay for it.
There you go. Just another subscription for something else.
Oh, yeah. Just exactly what you want to do.
So. Exactly. No, for Iowa State, we talked about the first half of the season was great. The second half, there's been injuries, illness, dropping games, like you said, with the record being what it is, their last 14. So, yeah, that's a tough spot. Do you want to, if there really is sickness going through the team, would you rather just get everybody healthy and rested up for the tournament, or would you rather them go play the Big 12 tournament, at least win a few games to get that momentum back? And I can't remember if you said it earlier, but do you know where they'd be slotted right now? Would they have a bye? Would they play right away?
They're going to play on. They have a bye, but they don't have the double bye. So the top 4 teams in the Big 12 get a double bye, and if the season ended today, they're a 5, and I think it's pretty much slotted in that they're a 5. I think they're because it was them and BYU were tied for 4, and then obviously BYU beat them, and they only played them once. So obviously BYU has the tiebreaker. So
if they after the Kansas State will be their last game, Ryan. Do you know how many days then in between Kansas State and their first Big 12
they're going to play? If they're the 5 seed, they're going to play Wednesday. So I mean, that's enough days. They're used to playing like that. I mean, it's not Tuesday or a quick. It's not a super quick turnaround. It's just you got to play an extra game if you're going to win the whole thing. That would be, instead of just playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you're going to have to play Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, I was just curious if they could, if they had enough days off, if they get that sickness out of the team. Now that we're kind of getting into spring, hopefully they get everybody who's sick gets it through their system now at this point. Because like you said, you want to be well rested going into March Madness, but then you want that momentum too. Because with the way the season started, you said it too. I mean, got to get to the Sweet 16 at least. We talked about it, especially early on in the season. This team felt like a team that, everything that I read and saw anyway. I really haven't watched them, but should at least get to the Elite 8. It'd feel a little disappointing just getting to a Sweet 16, which sounds kind of silly to say, but with the momentum they had, it felt like an Elite 8 team.
Yeah, before everybody started getting hurt and everything, they were number 2 in the country and just a solid lock to be a number 1 seed. Then Monsilovich got hurt, and they lost to West Virginia. They lost at Arizona. The ones that and that one's hard because they hit a half-court shot and then forced overtime and lost. This one yesterday's hard, but there's also the Kansas State loss at home and the Oklahoma State loss. Whether you have all your guys or not, those are 2 games you probably shouldn't lose. BYU is a good team; they're ranked. Arizona is a good team; they're ranked. Those are games that you can live with. You're not. I mean, Auburn got beat yesterday by number 12 Texas A&M or whatever. you're going to lose. You're not going to go undefeated. And we talked about that when they had one loss and they were undefeated in the conference. They're going to lose some games. But I believe this team was better than 8 losses. They should have about 4 losses in conference instead of 7.
Yeah, we'll see how they can get it finished out. I know you mentioned, I don't have much to say on this, as you know, about the past month, but you said Iowa, will they win another game? I don't even know who they've got left on the schedule. They're not going to the Big Ten tournament, right?
Well, as if it ended today, no. I think if they would win one more game, there's a good chance. Now, the games are not easy. Tomorrow night they play their final home game against Michigan State, obviously best team in the Big Ten, ranked in the top 10. It'd be a huge shocker to win that game. But if you actually look at the last 10 times they played Michigan State, Michigan State's one of the best programs in the country. They haven't been great lately, but Iowa actually does pretty well against Michigan State historically in the last 10 games, so 4 or 5 years. And then Saturday or Sunday, the Big Ten, like Iowa State and the Big 12 don't play on Sunday, but the Big Ten does. Saturday or Sunday, whenever it is, they play at Nebraska. Nebraska's, they're reeling right now. They were in the tournament for kind of bubble-ish. They've lost 2 or 3 in a row. I think they're kind of maybe outside looking in right now, or right on the first 4 or last 4 in. So they need wins. So, and then it's at Nebraska, and Iowa has not been a good road team this year. So both teams will definitely need to win that game or want to win that game. And it might be, Iowa wins or in, Iowa loses or out. So, I mean, the super question is, and I think I'm going to put this out there as well, will Iowa win another game? If they don't win another game, I don't think they're in the tournament. And then even if somehow they would lose both games and then get to the tournament, can they win a tournament game? Because they're going to be, one of the last seed in. So team 15. So they're going to play 10. I'd have to look at the bracket. And then that's a question too. And I need to look into this. There's rules in the NCAA tournament of you can't play a conference team in the first round, in the second round. With these conferences getting bigger and bigger, they might have to relax some of those rules because, if the SEC gets 13 teams in sometime, or the Big Ten gets 12, 13 teams in, just geographic mathematics, you're going to have to play somebody in your conference.
Yeah, that's one of the unintended consequences kind of expanding these conferences and stuff like that's going to come up that you just mentioned. The bigger the Big Ten and the SEC get, the more teams they get in. Obviously, there's going to be more likelihood that they're going to have to play each other earlier than what they would like. So that's probably, you're right, that's probably a change they're going to have to make. For Iowa, obviously, if they don't even make the Big Ten tournament, what's the NIT looking like? I haven't even looked into that. I have no idea.
I don't know. And it used to be you had to have a 500 record. I'll watch the Iowa games, which is more than what I know. That's more than you do, but I couldn't tell you what Iowa's record is. I have no idea. I could look in 2 minutes on my phone, but off the top of my head, I don't know if they have a winning record or a losing record overall. I would assume it's right around 500. 15 and 14 or 16 and 13 or 14 and 15. That'd be my guess. Probably should know that off the top of my head, but I don't. I don't even know. I don't even know Iowa State's record really off the top of my head. I believe they have 8 losses and 7 in the conference. So, or 25-8 or whatever it is, something like that.
Iowa men, there's no need to worry about their record. They're irrelevant. So I think Iowa State's 22-8. That's the good men's team. And then Drake keeps on chugging
they
along.
won
awards and stuff like that came out.
Yep, Player of the Year, Coach of the Year. 13th straight year that their coach has won a conference title. That's impressive. I don't care what level. I don't care what team. 13 straight years you've shared or won the conference tournament or conference title, regular season.
Yeah, that's 13 years. That's almost feels impossible to do that.
Yeah.
that many years in
Now
a row. So that's really impressive.
they've got 4 or 5 national titles, so they were obviously very, very good, not just conference title good. Their point guard played at Northwest Missouri State last year, was player of the year in the Missouri Valley. Interesting to see what he'll do next year. He has another year of eligibility. Obviously took a big step up this year. Probably not getting any NIL money, or if he is, very little. Showing that he can play. Does he go take another jump up and get some money and go see if he can play at another level? I think he has to. He's got to go see. Because right now, he stays at Drake. He could go one, you don't know if Drake's going to be this good again. You don't know if your coach is going to be back. Just lots of questions with Drake. And I don't think he's an NBA guy. I don't know. I haven't watched him enough. So guys like him, you cannot blame for going and trying to make $100,000 somewhere, $200,000 somewhere. That's a heck of a start in life. 24-year-old graduating college and $100,000 in the bank or $200,000 in the bank. That'll help you buy your first house. You don't have to worry about things. It doesn't set you up forever. It doesn't set you up for 5 years, really. But it's just the worries in life are gone if you do things correctly.
Yeah, if he could get 100, 200,000, whatever it might be. Right. I mean, I would assume he's going to be on the radar of Iowa State, Nebraska, all the surrounding schools.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. I mean, I'd take him at Iowa State.
I think Iowa needs him more.
Well, yeah, and there's a really good chance that his coach might be at Iowa,
right?
So he might just follow him wherever. Their coach is going to have a chance to go somewhere, and he could go somewhere. I've heard Utah wants him. I've actually heard Indiana's interested. And, if I'm coach and he's been my guy the last 2 years, if I go somewhere else, I'm bringing him with. It's a package deal. You come as long as he wants to come, he's welcome to be on my team anytime, any place, anywhere.
Yeah, you're right. That'd be a great way to do a package deal. If he accepts a coach at a bigger school, or to be the head coach of a bigger school, then say, hey, you got to bring him along. You got to give him 150,000, blah, blah, blah. And then it's a 2
and that's
for 1.
cheap. And that's cheap at Iowa State, Iowa. $150,000 is not what most starters will get at those schools. I don't know this for a fact, but pretty sure the Iowa State top guys are getting $600,000-$700,000 each.
It's not a bad college life.
Nope. So, no, it just, essentially it's this time of year. Iowa State's in the position where essentially the season doesn't matter now. And Drake is this way too. Drake needs to go win the Missouri Valley Conference tournament so they have no questions asked about getting the NCAA tournament because they are on the bubble, probably outside looking in, even though they're 28-3 or 27-3. Just the reality of being not even a mid-major. They're a low major. It's the Missouri Valley with Creighton and Wichita State and all those teams leaving. It's just not a powerful conference anymore. They have to get to the final for sure to have a chance. And then I believe they have to win it. You just cannot rely on this committee. They're going to put in a 500 Big 12 team or a Big 10 team or an SEC team over a 27-3 Drake. I mean, that's just the reality of it. It sucks, but that's the way college sports are going right now.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something if Iowa was to be one of the last teams in, like you said, if they can go on a little run here at the end and then Drake doesn't get in, that would that wouldn't even feel right.
Right, and that's what Drake has to hope for. That's what let's say they don't win, and their conference tournament starts maybe tomorrow. They play this weekend. They always play a week earlier. The Sunday game is always on CBS. It's always fun to watch. if they don't win it, that's what they have to watch. They don't want any bid stealers. They don't want an NC State like last year. They had to win 5 games in 5 days, and then they just parlayed that into a Final Four run. They won 9 in a row or whatever it is. So if you're Drake, you just don't want any bid stealers. You want, in the big time conferences, the top 5 to 10 seeds are all going to the tournament. You don't want someone to make a run, but you don't want, in the Big East, you don't want Xavier to go win it and take a spot out. I guess maybe Xavier's in, but a DePaul that's not in the tournament go win the thing, because then they still get UConn, they still get Creighton, they still get Butler. Instead of 3 teams, now all of a sudden they get 4. You don't want Oklahoma State to go win the Big 12. You don't want Iowa to win the Big 10. You don't want who would be, I don't even know who the SEC is so good. I don't even know a team that's bad in the SEC. I don't think there are any bad teams. No, I think they're like 28-7. That's actually
I have no idea.
Or 22-7 or whatever it is. That's actually a huge win. Drake beat them. One of the first games of the year in their travel tournament in South Carolina or wherever they were, when they beat Miami and Vanderbilt and won that tournament. No, Vanderbilt just beat Missouri, and they beat somebody else. I mean, no, Vanderbilt, I believe, is in the tournament if it ended today. Teams like that, you don't want them to go win the SEC, because the SEC right now already has 10 teams in it or whatever. They don't want an extra one.
Yeah, well, hopefully Drake can take care of business, get that tournament championship wrapped up. I'd like to see him in it. It'd be a lot more fun with them and Iowa State both making it. So be rooting for them to see how they do. Did you have any other basketball stuff for tonight?
Really just, the Hawkeyes and Iowa State women with a big win on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure that they got in a tournament with that win. That was the question mark for them is that's their first quad 1 win. That was a big one. And they are a team, they're a little bit like Iowa, I believe. They're not going to be a high seed. They're going to be, they could even be in that first 4 category, depending on how everything works out. They're going to be a 10, 11, 12 seed probably. And, they get out of that first round, just like they did last year where they played Stanford and Audie Crooks had like 40-some points in the first round and then couldn't buy a bucket in the second round, but gave Stanford all they had. If Audie Crooks and Addie Brown and then Emily Ryan's playing much, much better than she did at the beginning of the year, and she's healthier, I mean, it's a mental thing, it's a physical thing for her. That's a team that can play with anybody except for those tops. You want to get to that bottom side of the bracket. You don't want to see North Carolina or South Carolina. You don't want to see UConn. Those are teams that beat you by 50. I don't think you want to play USC. You don't want to play UCLA. But a lot of the other teams, one game, one chance. You got one. If Audie Crooks is making her shots and not turning the ball over with travels and stuff, she can go score 50, 35, and they can make a game of anybody against anybody.
Yeah, let's see how they do. I think I saw them as an 11 seed earlier today when I was looking. So yeah, they need that was a big one for them to get. Obviously, if they could do go on a little bit of run in the Big 12 tournament, maybe they can get up there too. But yeah, you're right. You don't want to try to avoid those 1 seeds if you can in the 2. But we'll have to see if they can get up to that. That'll be fun having them in the tournament. And like you said, last year they got a little bit of experience. Obviously, getting back there this year now, maybe that'll help them take down a higher seed if they can get that far.
Yeah, and Emily Ryan's a senior, but everybody else that plays is a sophomore. That's what a few people forget. Last year they're all freshmen. This year they're all sophomores. Now, senior point guard leader is a 6-year senior, so that really offsets it. But Addie Brown, Audie Crooks, Kelsey Jones, AJ, Adriana Jackson are all sophomores, and so they're just better now than they were. But yeah, so obviously this time of year in basketball, it's really fun, but it's nerve-wracking, and it's a lot of games each day, but then they're not every day. Now, coming up, in the conference tournaments, um, it's most every day. But, obviously when you get to the NCAA tournament, it's just Thursday, it's just Friday, it's just Saturday, Sunday. The last thing, did you see the Sun Belt Conference's bracket? Have you seen that like online or anything?
I just saw that a little bit ago. It's the 1 and 2 seed. They're all the way at the end of the bracket. Is that right? Is that the one you're talking about?
I think they don't play till the semifinals, which is great because if you're the Sun Belt Conference or a conference like that, you want your best team in the tournament because most likely you're not going to win a game, but you want to put your best team out there to give yourself the best chance to win. Because people forget, the more, like, if Drake goes to the NCAA tournament and wins a game, they get more money for their conference and them. Everybody gets a certain amount of money from the tournament, and then the more teams you get in and the more games you play, the more money you get. So in the Sun Belt, one team's going. Doesn't matter. It's this week is the only thing that matters. But if you put your 1 seed or per se your best team and they end up being a 13 seed, that gives you the best chance. But all of a sudden your 10 seed wins the tournament, that becomes a 14, 15, 16 seed, and it's really low percentage. So they're trying to give their team to win it the best chance. And it's smart. It's weird to look at, and it's a huge advantage, but that's why you play all year, is to get that advantage to be the 1-2 seed.
Yeah, it was a weird looking bracket, but I didn't mind it. And also what it does is it puts an emphasis on the regular season as well.
Yep. You're getting a huge advantage. Just, Iowa State losing last night was a huge disadvantage. They needed to win last night to get that double bye. So they only had to play, if they want to win the whole thing, 3 games. Now they have to win 4 games, and that matters.
Yeah, I thought it looked pretty cool. I mean, it's smart on them, like you said, to try to guarantee at least that they're really their best team, or at least one of their top 2 or 3 teams will have the best chance of making the tournament. Not a lower seed somehow gets through there. It's going to be much more difficult. So I don't mind it. Like I said, it makes the regular season more important. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But it was an interesting look at bracket. I haven't seen one of those, I don't think.
I haven't either. The other thing is there any other conference besides the Big Ten that not everybody makes the tournament? I think I don't understand why teams aren't getting in the tournament here. I don't get it. Do you know why?
That'd be a good question for Zach. Like I said, on the men's, I think on the women's side too, I don't know if every team made it. I'd have to go back and check with women's Big Ten as well. But competition wise, I don't mind that. I mean, if you're at the bottom 2 or 3 team of the Big Ten, you probably don't deserve to be there anyway. So now, as far as how money goes and all that, I don't know if that makes a difference. But I mean, just from a pure competition standpoint, if you're the bottom 3 team of the Big Ten, as big as the Big Ten is now, I have no problem with you not making the tournament bracket.
Yeah, but you got to think just a couple. That's the beauty of basketball compared to football. Is that kind of this week, whether you've got your 27-2, 25, if you win your conference tournament, you're in. Realistically, they're not going to, but technically you have a chance. But you have to, but again, it puts a little bit more emphasis on the regular season. But I don't think, and I mean, I would assume, this is an assumption, that every Big Ten team gets the same amount of money for the Big Ten tournament. It's a money thing. I don't think, maybe it is. If you win a championship, you get more money than the team that loses in the first round. I don't know that. I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, like I said, I got no idea. We're gonna have to get Zach on here next week, I think. That way, or at least for a March Madness preview, get Zach on here because I'm sure he's going to know more of that than I'm going to know on the basketball side.
Yeah, next week will be the preview. of the NCAA tournament. I'll start Thursday morning, 11 o'clock or whatever it is. I think we're probably good in basketball. Switch over to football here. The NFL Combine franchise placed yesterday were placed and not placed. Some names that were not tagged. First, big surprises in the Combine. I don't know if they're surprises, super performances out of all the Iowa State guys. They were good, real good. And the podcast I listened to, the question is, they spend all this time since working out at Iowa State, or were they all at different places that focus on workouts? That, and I don't know the answer to that question, but that'd be a really good question to have that.
It was a really good weekend for the Iowa State guys. Like you said, Porter, Higgins, Jalen Noel, they all ran really good 40 times, had good verticals. So they really secured their draft stock. I mean, I can't see any of them lasting past the fourth round. Probably worst case scenarios right now. I haven't looked at any really 7-round mock drafts lately. I'll start getting into that here in a little bit. But no, the Iowa State guys all did really well. The one Iowa guy I wanted to focus on was Caleb Johnson. Me and some guys online were predicting what he was going to run. They predicted 4.48, 4.49. I predicted 4.54. He ran a 4.57. So I figured he was going to go over 4.5 for the 40-yard dash. You know, if you're an Iowa fan or if you paid attention to Caleb Johnson, it's really the first 10 yards where he's the most explosive. So the 40 time, I think most NFL teams expected him to be around that 4.5 or higher mark. So I don't think that hurt him too much. I would have been surprised if he would have broke 4.5, which he didn't. So he ran kind of close to what I expected him to run. I think really what it's going to be is the interviews, and then how do teams see him as a pass catcher and a pass blocker, because he's got the size. The size is really low. So he's going to be good there. You know, does he go top 50 now? I'm not sure. The running backs all did really well. I think one question, though, for the running backs is how many running backs go in the first round? Is it just going to be one? Because I've seen some other mock drafts where 2 to 3 are going in the first round now. So obviously, if 2 or 3 go in the first round, then that's probably going to help his chances to go in top 50.
Yeah. So, I mean, first round, Genty will probably go. And then where's a Hampton kid from? Last name?
North
Hampton.
Carolina.
Okay. Not Hampton School, but
right.
His name's last name's Hampton.
Amari Hampton. Yeah. And then you got the two
North Carolina.
State. Yeah. He's from North Carolina. The 2 Ohio State guys. Scatterby had a good combine. Virginia Tech running back did. So it's a good running back draft, and we'll probably see a lot of running backs go in the first 2 rounds, especially the first 3.
Yeah, and then with Saquon having the year he had, running backs are a little bit back in vogue. There was a few years there where it didn't matter, but Saquon's different. I mean, he was drafted 3rd. Hawkeye fans saw it firsthand. He won that game single-handedly against Iowa when Penn State last play of the game when he scored. I mean, he single-handedly won that game for them.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most impressive college performances I've ever seen, at least against Iowa for sure, with Saquon Barkley there in college. So I think the running backs are interesting. Speaking of running backs, and then your team, the Bears, kind of aligned a little bit. The Bears made 2 trades, 2 smart trades, I think, for Joe Thuney, the guard for the Chiefs, and then Jonah Jackson, the guard from the Rams. Jonah was in Detroit with Coach Johnson there, so he knows him. And I think what the Bears are saying is we're not going to mess around with 2 or 3 NFL rookies on the offensive line. We don't have time for that. We're going to bring in 2 veterans. I mean, Thuney's a 4-time All-Pro at guard. He's going to be a plug-and-play player. They want to protect Caleb Williams immediately. Game 1, they don't want to be fooling around with the offensive line too much. So where that brings the Bears in with the running back is at number 10, their draft pick. They are the favorites to draft Ashton Genty over the Cowboys because they're ahead of the Cowboys. And if you look at what the Lions did with Jahmyr Gibbs a couple years ago, they took him in the top half of the first round. So Genty's going to be in play. Tyler Warren, the tight end, I think out of Penn State, might be in play there.
I like him a lot.
And then offensive tackle too will be in play. So what it does is, I mean, it secures their offensive line for the most part. They will add a tackle, I think, in the draft in one of the first 3 rounds, give or take. But it gives them more options at that 10.
Now you don't have to take a lineman at 10.
Mm-hmm. Or you could trade down a few spots, maybe with the Colts there at 14. But no, I like what the Bears did. These guys, they can play right away. They're getting a little bit older. This isn't a 5-year fix for them, but it's about getting Caleb Williams right immediately this year. Because if the Bears have another down year and he's not comfortable, it's not very often you see a quarterback have 2 below expected years to start a career and then all of a sudden take off. So he needs to pop a little bit in year 2.
Agreed. How about franchise tags? Darnold did not get tagged. Matt Stafford re-upped with the Rams. Any other surprises, just comments or whatever on franchise tags or not tagged?
Not much surprising going on. T. Higgins is going to get it. Now it sounds like there's going to be some trouble with Jamar Chase, which that's the Bengals for you. Dak restructured, opened up right around $37 million in cap space. I think the Cowboys now have the 8th most cap space in the NFL. Now, a lot of that's going to go to Micah Parsons more than likely. So, that's just part of doing business at the NFL and the salary cap. Devontae Adams, Tyler Lockett, and Christian Kirk are all getting released. So those will be free agent receivers. And then DK Metcalf has requested a trade. So he's only 27. Feels like he should be older than that. But DK will be on a lot of teams' radar.
I do think the Jets told Lazard to go look for a trade. He's gone too.
Yeah, the Aaron Rodgers and all his buddies are leaving New York, or at least they're leaving the Jets. We'll say. I don't know what the Giants are going to do at quarterback just yet.
Right.
That's probably one team that's going to be in play for Aaron Rodgers. So we'll have to, and speaking of the quarterbacks too, you got Aaron Donald, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, possibly Daniel Jones, and then Gardner Minshew just got released today. And then another quarterback that might be on the market for a desperate team would be Carson Wentz. He had his kind of a year there in Kansas City, or maybe it was 2, I forget now, but learning under Andy Reid, learning under Mahomes, Carson Wentz may get another chance to start, depending what team he goes to, unless he was to re-sign with Kansas City.
So he got released by Kansas City, or just his contract's up or whatever?
I don't think he's been released yet. I think this is last year of his contract, so I think he or the Chiefs would have to make a decision. I'd have to go back and double check that. Maybe he's got a year left, but Carson Wentz could be kind of an unexpected name that could be out there here soon that people aren't talking about.
Yeah, the quarterback carousel. It's just like in college. It's really the same thing in the NFL. It's super important to get a good backup too, because most guys won't start all 17 games. So you got to be able to withstand 3-4 games where a guy misses it.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it depends on the season, but in some ways, the backup quarterback's the second most important player on the team. Now, ideally, they never play, right? But when your quarterback does go down, we've talked about it, you need a backup that can kind of keep you around 500, depending on how many games they have to start. So the quarterback carousel will be coming up. Speaking of the NFL draft, Shedeur Sanders, sounds like he's slipping a little bit. Now, is that just rumors that are coming out this time of the year? I think if he makes it past 6 with the Raiders or 7 with the Jets, then I think there's 3 teams that come into play. We'll start at the back end. I think number 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers. If Shedeur starts to fall outside the top 10, look for Pittsburgh maybe to trade up to get him. The Seahawks at 18. Obviously, they're going to need a future quarterback after Geno Smith. He's
right.
He's a stopgap guy. And then one team picking at 13, and it might be a year too early, but I think they have to consider it, as the Dolphins, just because of Tua's injuries over the years. I don't think they should have signed him to that deal if they did anyway. We talked about that when it happened. So the Dolphins are going to have to look at a backup quarterback or a future quarterback at some point in this draft. Maybe it won't be in the first round, but those are 3 teams I would consider if Shedeur falls out of the top 10. Then if Shedeur makes it past the Steelers at 21, the Chargers pick at 22, starting at 22 down to 32. Look for those teams at the front of the first round in the top 10 to come back into the first round, trade up out of the second into the first,
right,
into those 20 spots to maybe get Shedeur later there. That way they get the 5th-year option. So if he makes it past the Steelers at 21, look for one of those bad teams to jump back into the first round to try to snag him up.
Speaking of Jackson at the combine, which most of them don't throw, Will Howard did, and I didn't watch it. I just heard that he was god awful. Is that correct? And is it just because he has had the best players around him?
Yeah, he had some bad throws. It wasn't good at all. And Will Howard was a guy, you remember in the beginning of the college football season, I really wasn't all that impressed with him. Well, then he goes and wins the national title. So it's kind of like he's grown on me a little bit. But yeah, he did not have a good combine at all. Some people are wondering if he's going to go like 6th, 7th round undrafted. I'm not ready to say that yet. A guy like that, a guy like Riley Leonard, Kyle McCord, there.
So, and that's and then there's the flip side. Kyle McCord, I think, did really well at the combine.
Yep.
And people forget that he was the starting quarterback at Ohio State. He's really good. He just, for whatever reason, they decided to move on, and he went to Syracuse, kind of out of sight, out of mind, but had a good season. They were pretty good. They lost a few games at the end. But people forget he's a starting quarterback at Ohio State. You don't become the starting quarterback at Ohio State by not having a little bit of talent and ability.
Yeah, I think Syracuse had one of their better years in some time. I don't pay attention to Syracuse that much, so I'd have to go double check that. But yeah, he's a talented kid. He's probably, outside of Shedeur and Cam Moore, then it's, is it going to be Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe? Those are kind of the 3-4 spot right now. And then it's who's going to take that 5th spot or even higher. And I think Kyle McCord's a name that is kind of falling into that 5th spot right now as quarterbacks.
And, I don't know a lot about him, but Cam Ward is one. I saw him live and in person, and he is big and he has an absolute cannon. Just watching him play against Iowa State, he would be my top quarterback pick. Again, I haven't watched everybody. I don't know his interviews. I don't know what kind of person he is, but on the football field, he was very, very, very impressive.
Yeah, he's the favorite to go number 1 right now. And speaking of the number 1 pick, anytime there's a weird year where we don't have a strong quarterback class like this year, I pick out 1 pass rusher and 1 offensive tackle to go number 1 overall. So I bet these 2 guys back in October of last year.
You go with Carter?
I got Abdul Carter at 50-1 to go number 1 overall. He's plus 180 right now. So I'm feeling pretty good about that bet.
That's great. Yeah. You got great odds there. Yeah.
Yeah, Kelvin Banks was 30-1. He's not going to be the number 1 pick, so he's out. That's fine, but at least I got Abdul Carter at 50-1, $5 bet. He's down to plus 180 now. So there's a chance. So I'm hoping that Aaron Rodgers or Sam Darnold signs with Tennessee, and then maybe they take Abdul 1, but they might trade out of it too. So it's still going to be tough for Abdul to go number 1, but it's in play now.
Yeah, that's a good bet, especially at 50-1. It's a hell of a shot for $5 and try to go win 250 and let's go.
Yeah, so I've got that going. That gives me a little bit of something to root for the draft. Not much other than that. LeBron scored 50,000 points, which is insane. I thought I heard a stat like regular season and playoffs combined, he's still 20,000 points ahead of Steph. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's what I heard.
20,000 more than Steph?
Which is just, it's insane. And they said they were rattling off names today. Like, was it Magic and Bird? He has more than those 2 combined in their careers. Probably. And
because neither one of them played very long. They played 10 years, 11 years. Obviously Bird had a hurt back and then Magic got AIDS, neither one of them played a long career. There's more games in the playoffs now than there used to be. And LeBron went to 8 finals in a row. I don't care who you are, win, lose, draw. 8 finals in a row is really, really tough. And then he went to the league at 18 and been really good from day one.
Yeah, we talked about the NBA last time we were on. You were asking if it's popular out west. Well, being out here in Southern California, the LA area, there is Laker stuff everywhere. So the Lakers are a big deal in Southern California, at least. That's no surprise. They're one of the biggest brands in the history of basketball, them and the Celtics. So the Lakers, from everything I can tell, the people I listen to, because again, I don't watch a lot of NBA, but a lot of people think they have a real chance to make the finals this year. And I think they're 15-1 right now. to win it all.
Yeah, I just don't follow the NBA enough to know if that's a good bet. Him and Luka seem to be playing well together. You don't know how long that's going to last. But if those two can coexist, they got two of the best players in the league, and that's a heck of a start.
Yeah, they got two of the top 5 players in the league right now. LeBron's playing at a top 5 level. I saw some stats where the MVP that he won in Miami years ago, his numbers are all better than he's scoring more points, more assists. His field goal and 3-point percentage are both higher than his MVP year, and he's 40. So that's pretty insane. Yeah, we'll have to see. I think I saw something that Luka last night was one of 4 Lakers all time to have 30 plus points and 15 or more assists in a game. It's like his 8th game with the Lakers or whatever it is now.
Yeah. I still don't understand that. And then, the Mavericks trying to win now that's a whole different deal. They're raising ticket prices. They trade their best player. Kyrie tore his ACL, which that just that happens, but that's not, AD street clothes is back in street clothes. It's, I don't know how that, obviously they didn't want Luka. It's just very simple. They didn't want him anymore. I just don't know how that. I would like to really hear Mark Cuban. Now, he's not the primary owner. He doesn't make those decisions anymore, which a lot of people still don't realize. But what does he really think? I'd love to hear that conversation. He's not going to come out and publicly say anything, but what does he really think?
He might come out at some point, because I think years ago when they first got Luka, they said, would you trade Luka or divorce your wife first? And he said, I'd divorce my wife before I'd trade Luka, or something along those lines years and years ago. So he can't be happy about it. And that GM for the Mavericks, now I can't think of his name, but yeah, it's all gone downhill because most people thought this was like a 3 or 4 year window that the Mavs had when they traded for AD because he's getting older. Well, AD's hurt. You just said Kyrie tore his ACL. That he won't be ready until this time next year. So basically this year and next season are probably out the door. And then by year 3 of that trade, those guys are getting a lot older. So people are already saying, I don't know the history enough, but maybe one of the worst trades just in sports history, not just basketball.
I just don't get how you trade. Yes, is he, he's not your LeBron that just a workout freak, athletic freak, but he demands the ball, and he can just, what he can do with a basketball in his hand, there's not 5 people in the world better than him with the ball in his hand. There's not. Mm. And you just traded, and he's 26 years old, 25. Yeah. That's the crazy part to me, is he's so young. If he was 32 and doing this, okay. You think you're trying to trade the old Belichick, get rid of him a year too early than a year too late. You're making a bet still, and he's still going to play great for 3 years, and you lost the bet. It happens, but not at 25.
Yeah, the age thing is that's the biggest thing in the trade. And then most people feel like they didn't get enough back. So it's almost like they didn't open it up to. There's rumors that they called Minnesota about Ant, and they said no. But you feel like if you would have put Luka on the open market, you would have got way more in return. And Anthony Davis is a great player, but again, he's a little bit older, had injuries. Yep. You feel like you just could have got more draft picks at least back than what they got. So yeah, that is it. Nico Harris, is that the name of the GM of Mavs?
I think so. Now that you say that, I couldn't have pulled it out, but
yeah, that's he's gonna. Right. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to show his face again in the Dallas area moving forward. So.
And you just think, so right or wrong, I don't think, let's say the Mavericks fire him. No team can hire him, can they? With that on his, that's his deathbed.
Yeah, and maybe it was forced upon him by ownership, but still he'll take the whole different blame for it.
Yeah, and that's when you get an interview, and that's where you never know. You go sit in an interview, let's just say, Chicago needs a GM and he's up for it, and they're going to ask him about it, and he's like, well, the ownership told me to trade him. So I tried to find the best deal and be secretive about it. I did the best I could. So I guess you understand that. But if that wasn't forced on him, holy buckets.
Yeah, that's the real question. I mean, was it forced upon him? Okay. If it wasn't, I mean, yeah, he'll have a tough time really getting a significant job in the NBA again. I mean, that's a death sentence as far as your career goes. If you were the one that made that trade and it wasn't forced, I have a feeling I've been hearing some rumors, again, the little that I know about the NBA, that it was an ownership decision, and kind of like Roger Goodell, like we talked about, he's got to take the bullets for it.
Yep.
Now, and the truth will come out someday, whether he gets fired or whatever. And 10 years later, we get some book that comes out or what, we'll find out someday. But yeah, if that was just his decision, that's a rough one.
Yeah, I just don't know why you do it. Even the ownership. I mean, it's your job is to try to win games and make your team valuable. I guess that. I mean, I don't know. I don't get it, but that's why I'm not in those positions. And those people make a lot of money and a lot of big decisions, and somebody thought they were doing the right thing.
Somebody did, apparently. It doesn't make much sense to me at the moment, but obviously we'll have to see how it plays out over the next few years.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing about the whole thing is you really won't know if this trade was good or bad for 3-4 years. I mean, if the Mavericks somehow go win a championship in 3 years, it worked. I mean, that's the reality of it.
The flip side is what if Luka plays 10 years in LA and wins 3 titles or something?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you'll still be kicking, even if Dallas gets a title, you'll still be kicking yourself over it. So it's just a weird trade all time. But that's kind of all I had really for sports, I guess, for the week.
Yeah, I would say, it's an important time of year. It's a fun time of year, but it's not a bunch of stuff. It's just basketball. Everything else is kind of off. The NFL Combine, which we talked about, but baseball's just starting, so there's nothing really there. Now the Cubs and Dodgers play in 2 weeks, real games, which is crazy to think about. But and then I know the last thing you want to talk about was a little bit of music stuff that we put on our socials and stuff. So
yeah, no, thanks for putting that top 10 list out. I just thought about doing some like songs of the week on here kind of as we end. Well, it's slow right now, so you don't necessarily have to post this or anything if you don't want. But some of these songs have been out a little while, but Charles Wesley Godwin just came out with an EP. He's got a song with Artist on it called Dead to Rights. I don't know if you've listened to that yet, but that's definitely a good one.
That'll be good. Ernest is good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Lily Fitz, In the Dust. Lily Fitz, found her on TikTok. She became famous doing a bunch of covers. Zach Bryan had her come out at a couple concerts, I think in Idaho it was. So she's kind of blowing up right now. Charlie Crockett was a guy on my list there on one of the albums. New song out called Game I Can't Win, which I like. That album should be coming out pretty soon. And then one other, she's not popular at all, but I think in 5 years or maybe even somewhere like 5 to 7 years, she could be a big name, but is Ansley Davidson back down in Georgia is one to check out. So I don't know if we'll do it every week. Like I said, some of those songs have been out for a little bit longer than others, but I'll try to keep up week to week if I can with a few.
That's good. Good. Always good. Got a new car, and so I get Sirius for like forever. Actually been listening to a little bit more music instead of podcasts.
What kind of car you get?
I got a Malibu just to drive back and forth. The Pacifico, it was time, 2006. So just a Malibu, drive back and forth to work and stuff. So no, good. 2018.
So you don't have to drive the show truck all around, huh?
No, it's got to stay. It's got to stay parked a lot. It is crazy though. And actually, I was talking this with Travis tonight at fake golf, as we call it. Like when I fill up my truck, it's 30 some gallon and it's, $100 to fill up or whatever, but you can go like 750 miles with it or whatever. And I get about 20 miles a gallon in my truck. Well, this car, you get like 35, 40 miles a gallon, but it's only like 12 or 13 gallon tank. So you actually have to fill it up more. It just doesn't cost near as much. And it's just kind of weird. So, and I haven't had a car in a long time. So I mean, it's kind of weird getting back in a car.
Yeah, then you got to go stay at the gas pump when it's cold and windy out and say, "Do you want a car wash? Do you want a receipt? Are you a rewards
Right.
member?" All that nonsense
Yeah.
that sucks in the wintertime when it's cold like this.
Yeah, yeah. Or you can say, yes, I just want to fill my car up with gas.
Yeah, I want to fill up with gas and get the hell out of here. I don't want to stand out here with 50-mile-an-hour wind and snow's blowing around. No, I don't want a car wash today.
Yeah, today is not the day. So pretty good. Yeah, just hey, that's perfect. Just over an hour. Nope. Hawk. I assume the Hawk women play tomorrow. Do you know what time?
I think 9. I think it's like 6 or 7 here. So I don't know. I have to double check. It's online. I forgot to write it down, but they're the last game tomorrow night, I believe.
Okay, so they're the evening game. So yeah, it's not at 10 a.m. or whatever. And that's what's weird this time of year too. Is yeah, you play. Well, tomorrow's Thursday. Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's just it's weird to watch games and stuff. But it is the beauty about being a PE teacher. We'll just put the Eddyville girls did win their first round. They play tomorrow at 10, I believe, against Central Lyon. Should be a really good game. Yeah, put games up on the projection up on the wall, and we'll do that for the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, and that's a good thing about streaming too. Everyone can download their apps on their phones. So I'm sure this time of year, especially when March Madness starts, there's going to be a lot of people at work, sneaking away to watch some of those games during the work hours.
Yeah, we make it just odd. We don't even sneak. We just put it right up. Everybody wants to come in and watch for a few minutes. Just put it up. Yep. No secrets here.
Everybody else is doing the same thing. I mean, back when we were in high school, I know some teachers would put like the scoreboard up so you can kind of keep track during the day. So everybody's checking their phones anyway.
Yep. So no, we just don't even make it secret. We just put it up right on the wall. So, all right. Thanks a lot, Trev. And we'll get together next week and have our obviously March Madness NCAA tournament preview. And hopefully Drake's in. Pick how far Iowa State will go. Iowa may or may not be looking for a new coach. I would assume they would be at that time, because I would think if you're going to make the change, you got to do it as soon as the season's over, whether that's this weekend or next week after the tournament, I guess. So it might not happen yet because next week, I guess we still have 2 weeks for the NCAA. So the NCAA preview will be 2 weeks. I'm off a week.
Yeah, 2 weeks. So make sure, Zach, if you're listening in 2 weeks, we need your services.
Yep. All right. Thanks a lot, Trev. And we'll talk next week. Again, thanks to everybody that listens. Rate, review, like, subscribe at your favorite podcast player. Go to our YouTube page so you can comment and get notified when we go live. We don't go live every time, but most of the time we do. So thanks a lot, and we'll talk to everybody next time.
Have a good night.